Hi everybody, welcome back. I've been away for a little while. I'm still a little under the weather. I was sick with a severe flu, but I'm slowly getting back to my normal self again. This time I decided to do a video about the Archangel Michael. I know in the New Age realm a lot of people claim to channel him and to work with him, and I'm not saying it's not true, but I am saying be very, very wary of deception. Archangel Michael is a very popular name, and therefore it's going to be misused and abused a lot. I myself believe that I have had experiences with Archangel Michael, and I'm not here to discredit any other people's experiences with Archangel Michael, but I will tell you what I have learned and what I have come to know about this Archangel. Archangel Michael is known as the host of the heavenly armies. He is the archistratege. That means that he is a lot like what we would call a general. We know that he hurled Satan to the earth, and he is generally the protector of the needy, the lonely, the poor, and the deserted. He is also an archangel. Now, what are angels and archangels? I have come to believe through my own experiences that angels and archangels are actually interdimensional extraterrestrials. There are many kinds of interdimensional extraterrestrials. They have all sorts of forms like humanoids, reptilians, mantoids and greys, and all of these species have their own representatives in a council, and these representatives are the archangels. Now, of all the species that I just mentioned, there are not only positive beings but also negative beings. This is because of this mixed group of all kinds of species. They were a collective and they got split up over conflict. I will address this in another video and explain more about this. But because of this splitting up, there are two factions, and these factions are both comprised of the same kinds of beings. That explains why some people have positive experiences with one of these beings and other people have negative experiences with one of these beings. Now back to Archangel Michael. What do we know about Archangel Michael? Well, he is mentioned in the Bible several times. The first time we hear about him, that is in the Bible where he hurled Satan to the earth in the Great War in heaven. We also know that he quarreled with Satan about the body of Moses, and he told Satan that the Lord rebuke you. We also know that he fought the Prince of Persia, and there's numerous accounts that Archangel Michael was there to help and heal and educate, and he sometimes even made several healing springs where the spring water had healing qualities. He is very merciful and long-suffering. This is especially very clear in the text of the book of Enoch. In these older accounts, Archangel Michael is most notably known for his healing and educating work. It is Emperor Constantine who changed this vision of him into a more warrior-like, with bulging muscles, angel that is fighting his way through heaven and earth. We know from ancient text that Archangel Michael defeats his enemies with the truth. That means that he exposes the tactics and the plans of his enemies. He was created specifically to fight the demons and protect the angels against the demons. He is known in many cultures, most notably in Hinduism, where he is the Hindu deity Skanda, Kartikeya, Murugan, or Subramanya. These are all names for the same deity. And I did some research about this deity, and I found out that there are many similarities to the person that we consider to be Archangel Michael. Now, Kartikeya in Sanskrit means from the Pleiades. If you Google these names, you find out that he was raised by the Pleiadians or at the Pleiadians. So in this regard, this Skanda figure or Archangel Michael is an interdimensional extraterrestrial from the Pleiades. The similarities between Archangel Michael and Skanda are numerous. For instance, they both have a spear. They both are known for their incredible insight in the nature of consciousness and reality. They are known for their teaching and healing abilities, and both are the leader of the heavenly armies. Skanda is known to have explained to the Lord about the nature of Brahman. He told the Lord that he was Brahman. Now, Brahman is the all-encompassing consciousness that surrounds and incorporates everything that exists. Within Brahman, it is possible to gain the view or perspective of every living being, and that also includes planets, rocks, and inanimate objects. So, if you are Brahman, you can learn the perspective of someone who split the rock, but also of the rock being split or the axe that's being used to split the rock. In this consciousness of Brahman, it is impossible to be destroyed, and therefore Skanda explained that because of being Brahman, he was indestructible. And that is why he has become the leader of the heavenly armies. Because of this Brahman consciousness state, he can know everything there is to know about the battlefield, and he's also indestructible. And he can move himself into every possible perspective and find out what is necessary to defeat his enemies. Because of his ability to know the plans of his enemies, he doesn't need to resort to violence to win his battles. He can just expose the plans of his enemies and therefore rendering them useless. Also, because of this Brahman state, he doesn't need to channel. He can reach every consciousness of every being, and therefore he does not need to pick one person to channel his messages for him. He can reach the minds of people at will and simultaneously. I believe that he is responsible for the great awakening that is happening right now, where people are waking up to the truth of the reality that we're living in, and the scams that are being played on us. That is exactly how my personal experience of Archangel Michael is as well. There's been several occasions in my life where people were scamming and plotting against me, and he exposed their plans so that I could make sure that these plans would not work because I would not comply with them. Also, Archangel Michael or Skanda does not channel or speak about ascension, and certainly not about the war and his tactics. So if you come across any kind of information that points to this, I would be highly suspicious if this is actually the Archangel Michael. The great awakening that is happening is Archangel Michael or Skanda through his Brahman state reaching the consciousness and subconsciousness of all human beings to expose the truth or revealing the truth. It's the apocalypse, which means the lifting of the veil, exposing the truth. Archangel Michael's help focuses on self-responsibility, spreading love to all living beings, which is called agape, and being merciful and long-suffering. He will not help you get money or promotion or your dream car, for instance, but he will help you if you ask his help in overcoming difficult situations, addictions, or your darker side. He will never get revenge for you or fight your enemies for you. Instead, he may ask you to endure suffering. That is my own experience. I grew up in a household with several narcissistic family members who usually abused me very badly. At one point I wanted to stand up for myself, but because of my age I was still very young. I wasn't aware of how I did it. There was an intervention where a voice from an upper corner of the room shouted at me to stop doing it. I was holding someone in a lockdown grip, which could have been very harmful if I persisted. So I was told to stop, and I remember that I had a discussion and I plead because I knew that if I would not be able to stand up for myself, then my entire life would be suffering by the hands of these people. Still, they convinced me, or he convinced me, to not do anything at that point and let revenge to the Lord. I was only 6 or 7 years old when I began to say that I would never need to take revenge on anyone because the Lord would do it for me and he would be much better at it. That is one of the ways that Archangel Michael may intervene. At that moment he saved my life, even though the result was decades of suffering by the hands of narcissistic people and narcissistic abuse. Still, my life has changed in a way that he did not necessarily save my body or the circumstances my body was in, but he did save my soul, which is eternal. Think about this whenever you think Archangel Michael is interacting with your life, because this is the way how he works. He will help especially those who stand alone and who are casted out of families or society, those who are the black sheep, those who are vulnerable like the children and the elderly and the sick. He will protect you, not in the sense that people will no longer harm you, but you will notice that the effects of their harm will miss their mark. His teaching style is very direct. He will make you aware of your own actions and your own responsibilities in life. But there he will still leave you to take the responsibility for it. Self-responsibility is the norm. He may urge you to think deeper and reconsider your thoughts or your actions or your beliefs, but he will never tell you what to think, what to believe, or what to do. He will never get angry or lose his patience or scold you for what you think or believe or do. Again, self-responsibility is key, but he is very direct. He doesn't beat around the bush. He is straight to the heart of the matter, and therefore he can be considered blunt sometimes. Now, why is the merciful and the long-suffering the one who is in charge of the armies and weapons of the heavenly realms? Well, if you would put someone who loves war in that position, you would have a war every 2 seconds. This way is making sure, like a safeguard, to not have needless wars and only resort to violence if there is absolutely no other way to resolve the conflict. Some other ways you can recognize Archangel Michael is he is very thoughtful of his actions. He always walks the golden rule and he never wavers. He always overthinks everything he says and does for the consequences for all parties involved. He is also not a talker, but he is a doer. He is a man of action. So if you come across long texts about all kinds of complicated intricacies of spirituality, that's probably not Archangel Michael. He can explain things telepathically in a way that you can grasp things, and he can explain them with only a few words, as little words as possible. He is very, very efficient in his teachings. So if you come across very complicated text about spirituality, that's most likely not Archangel Michael. Also, Archangel Michael will never put himself in a position where he can be worshipped, and he will always refute worship. He doesn't want to be worshipped. He doesn't put himself upon a pedestal. He doesn't demand respect. The only way he garners respect is purely and solely by his actions and by his example. That way he inspires us to become like him. Remember, in the book of Enoch, we are being implored to become like Archangel Michael, being merciful and long-suffering and very high conscious, walking the golden rule always. Now, we are very faulty and we can never reach the amount of perfection that he has, but we should always strive, because that is what will gain us the recognition and will gain the attention of Archangel Michael, him deeming it worthy to protect us. He can only protect us if we follow his ways. If we decide to go the way of the darkness, the greed and the narcissistic way that's being promoted in this world, there's nothing he can do, because then it's up to us. We've made the choice. We have the freedom to choose. But if we do choose the right path, he is there for us to protect us. Now, if you're not sure if you're dealing with Archangel Michael, keep this in mind, and keep also in mind the things that I said about beneficial entities and malicious entities in the 2 videos that I made about that. Always judge a tree by its fruits. Always look at the result of his actions, because his actions and the results are the key of knowing if you're dealing with a manipulative, negative entity or a helpful, beneficial entity. Remember that you don't need to rely on channels of other people to tell you what Archangel Michael wants you to know. If he wants you to know something, he can reach you directly, and you will notice it, and you will know who you're dealing with. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please leave a like, share and comment. You can also become a patron and get access to exclusive material. I am sharing every now and then a video about my own personal experiences. I've had many weird experiences, and I have learned things from these experiences, and that is the source of the wisdom that I'm sharing on my YouTube channel. But if you want to know more about my personal experience, you can check out my Patreon and get also an exclusive discount on my personal tarot readings. I also have a Facebook group that is very small at this point, and I would love to see it grow to become a community where we can share our experiences and our wisdom in order to empower and elevate ourselves and each other. For a personal reading, you can contact me. My email address is in the description box below. And if you don't want that but still like to see more of my videos, you can subscribe to this channel and click the bell icon to get notified whenever I upload a new video. I wish you an amazing day. Be blessed. Bye!